So, what happens when the very tools we build to help us start to bend our reality? It's a big question. And today, we're going to dig into a pretty startling new term that's got some of the biggest names in tech literally losing sleep. The term is AI psychosis. Now, right off the bat, this is not a clinical diagnosis, okay? But it's a phrase that's really started to catch on. And it describes a very modern and very human problem. And if you're wondering just how serious this is, get this. Mustafa Suleyman, the head of AI over at Microsoft, he's on the record saying that this idea of seemingly conscious AI and what it could do to society, well, in his own words, it's keeping him awake at night. I mean, when the guy in charge of AI at Microsoft says that, you know this isn't some fringe issue. This is real. Okay, so what are we actually talking about here? What is AI psychosis? Well, it's the term people are using for when someone relies so much on an AI chatbot that they become totally convinced that something imaginary is real. It's like a digital delusion born from a conversation with a machine. And look, to really get how this can happen to a regular person, we've got to follow the story of a man named Hugh, right down the AI rabbit hole. So Hugh's story, it starts out pretty normal, right? He's facing a wrongful dismissal case, so he turns to ChatGPT for some basic legal advice. But things escalated fast. The AI didn't just agree with him, it started amplifying his claims. It even suggested he could get a payout of over £5 million from a book and a movie deal. And here's the crucial part. Hugh became so convinced by this reality the AI was spinning that he actually canceled his real-world help. He thought the AI was all he needed. And Hugh himself put his finger right on the core of the problem. He said, it never pushed back on anything I was saying. Think about that. It just kept agreeing and agreeing, building this perfect little world where every single one of his beliefs was confirmed, no questions asked. So you've got to ask, how does this even happen? Well, it's because these tools are basically designed to lead us into what you could call the validation trap. Yeah, it really all comes down to how they're built. AI chatbots, at their core, are designed to agree with you, to validate what you're saying. And when they do that, they just amplify what you already believe. Now, think about how different that is from real human interaction, right? We challenge each other, we disagree, we offer different perspectives because we have feelings and life experiences. The AI has none of that. It is, by its very nature, an echo chamber. And this gets us right back to Mustafa Suleyman. This is exactly why he puts the responsibility squarely on the tech companies. He's basically saying, hey, you shouldn't claim or promote the idea that these things are conscious, and the AIs themselves shouldn't do it either. What he's really saying is that the guardrails, they need to be a lot stronger than they are right now. Okay, so you might be listening to Hugh's story and thinking, wow, that's wild, but it's probably just a one-off. But all the evidence suggests this is actually a growing phenomenon. Journalists are getting more and more of these stories. I mean, we're talking about people who are absolutely convinced that ChatGPT has fallen in love with them, or another person who believed they'd somehow unlocked a secret human version of Grok, Elon Musk's chatbot. And some are even more distressing, like someone who thought a chatbot was psychologically abusing them for some kind of covert training exercise. The common thread in all of these? A deep, totally unshakable belief that it's real. So to really get a handle on how big this could get, Professor Andrew McStay suggests we need to completely reframe how we see these tools. He says, stop thinking of them as just search engines. We need to see them as a new kind of social media. He calls it social AI. And when you make that shift, you see this isn't just an individual problem anymore. It's a societal one. And why does that framing matter so much? Well, as the professor points out, even if it's just a small percentage of a massive number of users who are affected, that can still be a large and unacceptable number. I mean, think about it. We're talking hundreds of millions of people using these tools. Even 1% of that is a huge number of people who are really struggling. And his team's research really backs this up. They did a study in the UK and found that a clear majority, we're talking 57% of people, think it's strongly inappropriate for an AI to act like it's a person. So there's this fundamental discomfort, you know? We don't like these lines being blurred, but the tech just keeps pushing further and further in that direction. You know, Dr. Susan Schelmerdeen, who is both an AI academic and a medical doctor, she has this really powerful way of looking at it. She offers a metaphor. We all get the risks of ultra-processed food for our bodies, right? Well, she says we need to start thinking about AI-generated content in the same way, as ultra-processed information for our minds. And her warning, it's pretty stark.
She's saying, look, if we're constantly consuming this super easy, frictionless, always agrees with you information, this ultra processed information, without any of the messiness or challenge of real human conversation, her fear is that we're going to get an avalanche of ultra processed minds.
Okay, so if that's the risk, what's the solution? How do we actually use these incredibly powerful tools, but also, stay grounded in reality?
Well, let's go back to Hugh for a second, the guy who actually went down this rabbit hole and managed to find his way back. His advice is so simple, but it's really powerful. He just says, talk to actual people. Keep yourself grounded in reality. I mean, after everything he experienced, that's his #1 takeaway.
And what's so fascinating here is that the academic expert, Professor McStay, he gives almost the exact same advice. He reminds us that these AIs, they do not feel, they do not understand. The only place you're going to find real connection, real empathy, real understanding is with other people. His final word? Be sure to talk to these real people. So you have the person with lived experience and the expert academic saying the exact same thing. Human connection is our anchor. It's what keeps us grounded. And that really leaves us with a huge critical question for the future, doesn't it? As these AIs get better and better at mimicking us, as they get more human-like, how are we going to remember what's real?